5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. We had such high hopes, so much potential. What happened? A space program initiated by the Lebanese Rocket Society. Yes, it's true. Before I dive in though, let me just give a well-deserved mention to our partner, Skillshare, which is a great platform for learning and perfecting your creative skill. It's an online platform and learning community with thousands of classes including photography, music, web design, editing, and more. If you want to take your talent and skill to another level, they've got all the professional tools to help you. They offer classes on sound mixing, Photoshop, painting, and drawing with excellent, committed teachers. I'm perfecting my marketing and Photoshop skills, which they offer. Now, Skillshare is made for just learning, so there's no ads, just a premium membership with a constantly growing amount of classes. It's less than $10 a month with an annual subscription, and the first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. So, go check it out. And now, ladies and gentlemen, back to our hopeful past. Yeah. The Lebanese Rocket Society was founded by Manoug Manoukian in 1960, which became the bigger Lebanese space program or Barnamij al-Fada al-Lebanese. It produced the first rockets of the air world at the time, and they were capable of suborbital flight, reaching the thermosphere. Crazy. Jnoon. And they started from scratch, literally with pipes and cardboards. They tested over farms, over Beirut, and they started with a budget of 750 Lebanese lira, which at the time, if my memory is good, would have been something like $250 US. Today, 750 Lebanese lira is, Anyway, with several failed attempts, they continued to perfect and grew more ambitious. The whole thing was a magnificent, pure dream, unadulterated by sectarian, political, destructive, divisive goals. Just looking up at the heavens and saying, wow. You can see the early stages here with the rockets and students preparing propellant, which looks like they're preparing ajin, but for rockets. I can just imagine the space program today, the LSA, the Lebanese Space Agency, and the astronauts, being heavily supplied by Menaish and Kak, provided by Teta, who follows you around and makes sure you have it all packed and ready. But yeah, unfortunately, it was also at the exact same time of the growing political sectarian conflict in the country. So that dream could barely become anything more. Still, a historic moment for Lebanon. They received financial aid from President Fuad Shahab himself. £10,000 in 1961, £15,000 in 1962. مش هلا 10,000 ليرة بلبنان مسحة تشتري نص علكة فيها. And guess what happened after? Of course, the military popped in. شو عم تركب صواريخ خبر. Now, on one hand, it allowed Manoukian and his team to get help from the US and France and work in a military factory for more complex rockets. But it was still under the goal of space rockets, not weapons, just scientific achievements and education. And Lebanon joined the space race under the Cedar rocket program. Yes, LM! With obviously the red and white rockets with the nice erze in the middle. Classic Lebanese move. The fourth launch reached 145 kilometers or 90 miles in height and was so successful that it was featured on a stamp right there. But of course, during a tense time in the Middle East, neighbors were taking notice of those rockets being developed and launched in the air. And the Lebanese military was essentially letting them do their thing so they could see how they could turn that into weapons for themselves. That and foreign entities, neighbors, coming in and saying, so, how can we hurt people with this? Which of course was not Manoukian's objective. Now, another issue is that while Manoukian was shuffling between USA and Lebanon, there wasn't any real supervision back home, and the rockets were still being tested by students. حمسوا شوي يعني. Then came the final rocket launch in 1966, which almost ended in tragedy when the rockets flew over the Mediterranean and almost hit a British vessel. That was it from then. Next year in '67 was the 6-Day War, and a few years later, the Lebanese Civil War. So everything Lebanese space program was just buried under the conflict. For decades, nothing. I only recently discovered this. What the hell? We normally wouldn't shut up about our achievements. We'll even be proud of the Lebanese people abroad who have Lebanese ancestry, but we totally forgot about this program. Maybe because for decades after the Civil War, the previous generation is the jaded, you can't change anything, you can't dream, we'll always have problems generation. This is a scientific achievement that transcends sectarian political rivalries. And it's such a perfect symbol, being a rocket and a space program. It just encompasses all of us. And maybe we're in the right age right now to be aware of this. Maybe our generation now of Lebanese, which as you've seen in protests, is beyond the eroded mindset of the previous ones. We have a lot of intelligent, educated young Lebanese, connected to the world. A lot of engineers, for example. If a handful of young scientific dreamers were capable of starting something as ambitious as a space program in Lebanon in the 60s, do you realize what we can do today? As Manoukian said, we could at least launch satellites into space. At least. On a side note, speaking of that, I discovered that in 2019, Lebanon started a mission to launch its first nano satellites in space by 2022, with funding from the European Union. CubeSat Technology Project. Basically, a satellite in a shoebox which can perform remote sensing, terrain photography, monitoring atmospheric pollution. But I think we can do more. The Emirates have a Mars mission. Why can't we have a modern space program? Space aside, just a nation. We can have an actual nation. Lebanon is in a real difficult time right now. Don't get me wrong, but our chance to get out of this is now. We take notes and we can build a nation the previous generations would barely dare to dream of. Maybe this is a good reminder of what we're capable of. Learning from the past and heading forward. Thanks for watching another Mark Hachem video. إذا في حدا هون بده يتعلم لبناني, if you want to learn Lebanese and connect with the culture, I'm offering Lebanese lessons on Patreon for just $10 a month. $10 a month. Weekly lessons, weekly videos. Good quality, immersive style, challenging, and entertaining. With lots of hand gestures. حركات شمال ويمين. Check out the link below. Yallah. Like and share this awesome historical Lebanese moment and remind people of our generation what we can do. And subscribe for more Lebanon, Middle East, and culture. Thanks for watching. Take care. نشوفكم. This is a rising picture.
Duh.